In 1977, a boy heard the last bell on a Friday afternoon and walked out into 2 days that belonged entirely to him. No practice to get to, no schedule, no screen in his pocket. Just a fish fry that night, cartoons and Soul Train in the morning, the whole block outside by noon, and church on Sunday with a table waiting after. The weekend ran the exact same way every single week, in a million houses at once, and nobody wrote any of it down. He thought that was just what weekends were. He did not know he was living inside something that was about to disappear completely. And the one thing those weekends gave him, the thing that is gone forever, is number one on this list. We all had those 2 days, the same Friday night, the same Saturday morning, the same long Sunday, running like clockwork in black households everywhere. He was not unusual. On 1,000 blocks, there was a kid living the exact same 48 hours, and every one of us thought it was ordinary. It was not ordinary. It was a rhythm, one the whole family moved to together week after week without anybody having to plan it. That rhythm is gone now. The weekend still comes, but what it used to be and what it used to do to a family is not coming back. Number 17 is a television show that stopped the entire house at the same hour every Saturday, and you can hear the theme right now. Number 4 is the meal that pulled everybody back to one table every single week without a single phone call. And number 2 is the one thing on this whole list that nobody liked, and you would take it back in a heartbeat. These 25 things were never a schedule. They were a family with a rhythm, a neighborhood with a routine, and 2 days a week that belonged to everybody at once. Every one of them, that boy lived every weekend of his childhood. Hit that subscribe button, and let's count down 25 things black kids did every weekend in the 1970s that are gone forever. Number 25, the Friday bell. That last bell on Friday hit different, and every kid in the building felt it at the same second. You cleared out of that classroom and hit the door running, and 48 hours of nothing but your own business stretched out in front of you. No homework touched until Sunday night. The whole block emptied out into the street by 4 o'clock. For the boy, that Friday bell was the best sound of the entire week. The Friday release was universal, but a weekend with nothing scheduled in it belongs to another era. It was not just a bell. It was 2 whole days handed to a kid with no strings on them. Number 24, the Friday night fish fry. Friday meant fish, and you smelled it before you got to the porch. Whiting or catfish rolled in cornmeal, popping in a deep skillet of hot grease, with white bread, hot sauce, and spaghetti or slaw on the side. Somebody always came by. The kitchen filled up with grown folks talking while the plates kept coming. For the boy, that smell hitting him at the door meant the week was over, and the good part had started. The Friday fish fry was a fixture in black households, part meal and part standing invitation. It was not just fish. It was a whole house exhaling after a long week. Number 23, staying up with no bedtime. Friday night, the rules quietly disappeared. Nobody sent you to bed. You laid on the floor in front of the television, watching whatever the grown folks watched, half asleep, fighting it, listening to them laugh in the kitchen. You made it to the late show or you did not, and either way, nobody carried you off early. For the boy, being allowed to stay up in the middle of the grown folks was the whole prize of Friday night. The one night with no bedtime was a small weekly freedom every kid counted on. It was not just staying up late. It was a kid getting to sit in the grown world for a few hours. Number 22, Friday night television together. There was one TV, and on Friday night, the whole family watched it as a unit. Everybody had a spot, the good chair, the couch, the floor. You watched the same shows at the same time, laughed at the same jokes together, and talked back to the screen. Miss it live and you missed it because there was no watching it later. For the boy, that room full of his people laughing at once was the sound of Friday. Appointment television meant a whole household in one room, unable to watch anything separately. It was not just TV, it was a family with no choice but to enjoy something together. Number 21, up at dawn for cartoons. The only morning of the week a kid got up early on purpose, and nobody had to call you twice. You were up before 6 in your pajamas, TV on low so you would not wake the house. Cartoons ran all morning and only on Saturday. When they ended, that was it until next week. No way to see them again. For the boy, that quiet early hour with the TV to himself was the best part of the day. Saturday cartoons were a one-shot event, gone the second the block ended. It was not just cartoons, it was a few hours a week that belonged to the children alone. Number 20, the cereal bowl on the floor. You ate breakfast sitting on the carpet 2 feet from the screen. Cereal in a big bowl, sugar on top, milk drunk straight out of it when you were done. You sat cross-legged right up under the television, close enough to get hollered at about your eyes, and did not move for 3 hours. For the boy, that spot on the floor was his seat, claimed every single Saturday. Kids on the floor and grown folks on the furniture was the unspoken seating chart in every house. It was not just breakfast, it was a kid in his own perfect world for one morning a week. Number 19, chores before anything else. At some point, the TV went off and the real Saturday started. The list came out. You dusted, swept, folded, and took out the trash before you were allowed outside, and it got inspected before you got loose. Nobody argued because arguing added chores. For the boy, getting through that list was the toll he paid for the rest of the day. The Saturday morning cleaning ran the same way in millions of homes at once. It was not just chores. It was the price of admission to the best day of the week. Number 18, the windows up and the music loud. Cleaning had a soundtrack, and the whole street could hear it. The record player or the radio went up loud, the windows came open, and the house got cleaned to whatever your mother loved. She sang. You danced with the broom when nobody was looking. Every house on the block was doing the same thing. For the boy, that music turned a chore into the loudest, happiest part of the morning. Saturday cleaning music was its own tradition, the record player working as hard as anybody. It was not just music, it was a whole block cleaning house to the same beat. Pattern break, modern comparison. In 1977, a weekend arrived and nobody had to decide what it would be, because the whole thing was already understood. Fish on Friday, cartoons and chores on Saturday, church and dinner on Sunday. The family did not schedule it. They just moved through it together, the same way, every week, for years. Today, weekends are wide open and completely full. A travel game here, a birthday party there, everybody in different cars going different directions, and half the family never in the same room. We call that having options. But look what got traded. The rhythm, the certainty, the 2 days a week when a whole family did the same things at the same time and knew exactly where everybody was. We did not just get busier, we lost the beat the week used to keep. Number 17, Soul Train. Here is the one that stopped the entire house. When that theme came on, everybody moved to the front room. You knew exactly what time it came on, and you cleared everything to watch it. The fashion, the afros, the dancers, and the Soul Train line at the end that nobody missed. Don Cornelius signed off the same way every week: love, peace, and soul. For the boy, That hour was the first time he saw a whole world of black cool beamed right into his living room. Soul Train started in 1970 and became appointment television in black households across the country, the one show that showed us ourselves. It was not just a TV show, it was a whole people getting to watch themselves be beautiful once a week. Number 16. Practicing the moves outside. The second the show went off, every kid on the block was in the street trying it. You went straight out and worked on what you just saw, and so did everybody else, all afternoon. Somebody was always better than you. The moves got traded up and down the block by dark. For the boy, that sidewalk was where Saturday's television turned into Saturday's whole afternoon. Kids taking the dances from the screen to the playground the same day was documented everywhere the show aired. It was not just dancing. It was a whole block learning the same steps on the same afternoon. Number 15. Getting your hair done. Saturday was hair day, and it took most of the afternoon. The kitchen turned into a shop, the comb, the grease, the parting, the steady tug, and you on the floor between somebody's knees for hours. You held still and you did not complain because you were not going anywhere until it was finished. For the boy, that long afternoon was more of his mother's undivided attention than he got all week. Saturday hair day passed down mother to daughter to grandchild, skill and ceremony at once. It was not just hair, it was hours of somebody's hands on you, and you did not know it was love. Number 14. The barber shop. For the boys, Saturday meant sitting in a shop full of grown men all morning. You waited your turn on a row of chairs while the men argued about sports and politics and told stories you were too young for. You sat there quiet and listened to everything. You came out with a fresh cut and a whole education. For the boy, that shop was where he learned how grown men talked when nobody outside was listening. The barber shop was a cornerstone of black community life, part business and part town hall. It was not just a haircut, it was a boy sitting in on the grown men's world for a morning. Number 13. The laundromat with Mama. If you did not have a machine, Saturday meant hauling the whole family's wash up the block. You dragged the bags, fed the quarters, folded warm clothes on the long table, and sat there for 2 hours with nothing to do but wait. It was hot and loud and boring, and everybody's mother was there. For the boy, that long wait was time, with his mother that nothing else interrupted. The neighborhood laundromat was a weekly gathering spot, a whole social world in itself. It was not just laundry, it was 2 hours nobody could take you away from your mother. Number 12. Grocery shopping with Mama. She took one kid with her, and being picked was an honor and a job. You pushed the cart, reached what she could not, and knew better than to ask for anything twice. She checked every price. If you behaved the whole way, you got one thing at the register, and you thought hard about what it would be. For the boy, that one chosen item at the checkout was worth 2 hours of good behavior. Shopping the sales carefully was how a household on a budget made the week work. It was not just groceries, it was a kid learning what things cost and how a family gets fed. Number 11. The skating rink. Friday or Saturday night, the rink was where everybody wanted to be. The lights went low, the music came up, and you rolled in circles for hours in a crowd of everybody you knew. There were people out there who were smooth, who could do things on skates the rest of us just watched. You skated until your feet ached. The rinks only let us in on certain nights back then, Soul Night they called it, and we took that one night and built a whole culture out of it that still gets handed down. Black skating styles grew into whole regional traditions, passed down person to person for generations. It was not just skating. It was a whole community turning one night a week into an art form. Number 10. The Saturday Matinee. A little money got you a whole afternoon in a dark theater. You walked or got dropped off with your friends, paid your way in, and stayed for a double feature. Popcorn and a pop, feet on the seat in front of you, the whole crowd hollering at the screen together. You came out into daylight, blinking. For the boy, that dark theater full of loud kids was Saturday afternoon at its finest. The cheap matinee was a weekly institution, a place a kid could go for hours on his own. It was not just a movie. It was a theater full of kids running the place for an afternoon. Pattern break, emotional monologue. Here is what nobody tells you about a routine. While you are inside it, it feels like nothing at all, just the same old Saturday, the same old Sunday, the same chores and the same shows and the same dinner. It feels like it will go on that way forever, because it always has. Then one year the shows go off the air. The rink closes. The barbershop changes hands. The kids on the block scatter to other cities. And the weekend, which used to have a shape, just becomes 2 empty days you fill however you can. Nobody announces that the rhythm is ending. It just quietly stops. And years later you catch yourself trying to explain to somebody younger what a Saturday used to feel like, and you cannot make them understand. That is the thing about a rhythm. You only hear it after it stops. Number 9. The Saturday night bath. Sunday, preparation started the night before, and it started with getting you clean. Every child got scrubbed down Saturday night, behind the ears, the neck, everything, because there was no time for it in the morning. Grease on the ashy spots after. Nobody went to the Lord's house dirty. For the boy, that Saturday night scrubbing meant Sunday was officially coming. Getting the whole household clean the night before was how a big family made Sunday morning work. It was not just a bath, it was a family getting ready to be seen. Number 8. Laying out the Sunday clothes. Before anybody went to bed, tomorrow's outfit was pressed and laid across the chair. The iron and the spray starch came out, the creases went in sharp, and the whole outfit, shirt, slacks, socks, everything, got set out where you would find it. Your mother checked it over. Nothing was left to the morning. For the boy, seeing those clothes laid out on the chair was the last thing he saw before sleep. Sunday best was a weekly act of dignity, a family walking in looking like it had its act together. It was not just clothes. It was a family preparing to stand up in front of everybody. Number 7, the shoes got shined. The last job of Saturday night was the shoes, and they had to shine. Out came the polish and the cloth, and every pair of Sunday shoes in the house got worked over until they gleamed. You did your own once you were old enough. Scuffed shoes at church were not happening. For the boy, shining those shoes beside his father was a small, quiet job he was proud of. Shined shoes were part of the presentation, the finishing touch on the whole family's Sunday. It was not just polish, it was pride, applied by hand the night before. Pattern break, the one thing that ran through him. Here is the part of his story we have been circling. Years later, grown, the boy sat alone in his own house on a Sunday afternoon, and the day just felt like a day. No fish frying on Friday, no cartoons that only came once, no line for the bathroom, no shoes to shine, no dinner that pulled everybody in. He could watch anything he wanted, any time he wanted, and there was nobody in the room to watch it with. And he thought about that little house in 1977 and how there was exactly one television and one bathroom and one table, and how the whole family had no choice but to be in each other's way. all weekend, every weekend, for years. He would trade every convenience he has for one more Saturday in that crowded front room, and the biggest piece of it is still coming. It is number 1. Number 6, the Sunday morning rush. 1 bathroom, 6 people, and church, starting whether you were ready or not. Everybody up at once, somebody hollering about the bathroom, somebody's hair not done, shoes missing, and your mother calling out the time from the kitchen. Then, somehow, everybody was in the car and dressed sharp. For the boy, that loud, crowded morning was the whole family moving as one machine. Getting a whole household to service on time was a weekly operation with no room to spare. It was not just being late, it was a family pulling itself together every single week. Number 5, church that ran all day. Service had no end time and you settled in for the long haul. The choir, the sermon that built and built, somebody catching the spirit, the ushers moving fast. You sat in your good clothes under a grandmother's eye that could correct you from 3 pews away, and you did not fidget twice. For the boy, that long Sunday was where he learned to sit among grown folks and be counted. The black church was the institutional heart of the community, the long service a cornerstone of family life. It was not just church. It was the whole community standing up together once a week. Number 4, Sunday dinner. Here is the meal that pulled everybody back to one table without a single phone call. The pot had been going since before church. Greens, cornbread, macaroni, a roast or fried chicken, and a cake on the counter. People came without being invited because it was Sunday, and Sunday meant the table was set. For the boy, that crowded table with a plate for everybody who walked in was the center of the whole week. The Sunday table was the great gathering of these families, the meal the whole week turned around. It was not just dinner. It was a whole family assembling itself again every 7 days. Number 3, somebody always stopped by. Sunday afternoon, the door stayed open and folks came without calling first. An aunt, a neighbor, somebody from church, all just showing up, and there was always coffee, always cake, always a plate. The grown folks sat and talked for hours while the kids played underfoot. Nobody made an appointment. For the boy, that steady stream of people through the door was what a Sunday sounded like. Dropping by unannounced was normal and welcome, a community that lived in and out of each other's houses. It was not just company. It was a neighborhood that never needed permission to come in. Number 2, the Sunday evening dread. Here is the one nobody liked, and you would take it back in a heartbeat. The lights started going gold, dinner was over, the TV turned to the Sunday evening shows, and it settled on you. School tomorrow. That homework you never touched. The weekend running out while you watched it go. For the boy, that heavy feeling was the price of 2 days so good he never wanted them to end. Sunday evening had its own particular weight, a whole country of children feeling it at once. It was not just dread, it was proof of how good those 2 days had been. Number 1, the whole family in one room. That is it, the plainest thing on the whole list, and the one that holds all the others. 1 television, 1 bathroom, 1 table, 1 front room. Nobody had anywhere else to be and no way to be alone, so all weekend long, everybody was in the same room, in each other's way, watching the same show, eating the same meal, hearing every conversation. That boy we started with spent every weekend of his childhood surrounded by his own people and thought absolutely nothing of it. And every single thing on this list, the fish fry, the cartoons, the cleaning music, Soul Train, the dinner, happened with all of them together, because there was no other way for it to happen. He did not know that was the whole gift. He just called it the weekend. Now everybody has their own screen, their own room, their own schedule, and a family can go a whole weekend under one roof and never once be in the same room at the same time. It was not just a crowded house. It was 2 days a week when a family had no choice but to be a family. And that, out of everything on this list, is the one thing that is truly gone forever. None of it took money. The fish was cheap, the cartoons were free, the chores were mandatory, and the dinner was stretched to feed whoever showed up. What made those weekends what they were is that everybody was there, in one house, on one rhythm, doing the same things at the same time, week after week, for years. The shows went off the air, the rinks closed, the barbershops changed hands, and the blocks scattered. And somewhere along the way, we all got our own screens and our own rooms and our own plans, and the weekend stopped pulling us together and started letting us drift. If you grew up on those 2 days, you know what we lost. So call somebody this weekend. Cook too much food, leave the door open, because the rhythm is not really gone. It is just waiting on somebody to start it up again.